You built you. You run you. Be the CEO of you. This is C.You.O. You run you. Born to build, raised to run, made to
Because if
lead.
you don't do it, who's going to do it?
This is C.You.O. Welcome back to C.You.O. Let's go. Let's grow. The 15-foot line. Sometimes the difference between a leader and a follower is about 15 feet. 15 feet of distance. 15 feet of discomfort. 15 feet between standing where you're supposed to stand and standing where everyone else feels comfortable. One night I learned that lesson in the most unexpected place, an airport. And what happened that night revealed something powerful about leadership. This is C.You.O. The plane landed earlier than expected that night. Fog had shut down the airport we were supposed to land at. So the pilot diverted us to a smaller airport nearby. Everyone on the plane was tired. People were quiet. You could feel that exhausted travel energy as everyone stepped into the terminal. The airline told us buses would take us to our final destination. But when we got inside the airport, no one seemed to know where to go. Passengers were standing around, looking at each other, looking at the employees, trying to figure out who was actually in charge. So, just like everyone else, I started looking for the person giving direction. Eventually, I saw a woman walk up holding a clipboard. She was clearly organizing things. So I walked over and asked her a simple question, just one question. Where will the bus pull up? She pointed to a spot and said, stand right there. That's where the bus will stop. So that's exactly what I did. I walked over to that spot and I stood there. The strange moment happened and something very interesting happened. Instead of standing behind me, people started forming a line about 10 to 15 feet behind me. I was standing exactly where the person in charge told me to stand, but the crowd felt more comfortable standing somewhere else. So there I was, standing by myself, while the entire group stood about 15 feet behind me. And that's when things got interesting. A ground worker eventually walked over. He saw the crowd, and because the crowd was standing together, he assumed their line must be correct, the correct line. So he stood with them. Now the entire group was behind him. And I was still standing alone in the position the supervisor told me to stand. Then the bus finally arrived. The driver pulled forward, and the way the drivers normally do, right up to the location where buses usually stop, which happened to be exactly where I was standing. The bus door stopped right in front of me, exactly where the supervisor had told me to stand. But the luggage compartment was about 10 to 15 feet behind me, which meant everyone still had to walk back there to their bags, but everyone else was closer. And in that moment, I realized something. The crowd wasn't standing behind me because they knew something I didn't. They were standing there because They were following each other. And that night, I learned something powerful about leadership. Most people don't follow clarity, they follow the crowd. When the bus pulled up where I was standing, the ground worker became frustrated. He told me to go to the back of the line, but I had already spoken to his supervisor. I knew her name. I knew what she told me, and I knew I was standing exactly where I was supposed to be. So I calmly explained that. I wasn't arguing. I wasn't raising my voice. I was simply standing in the correct position. I placed my luggage on the bus and I got on first. But the most interesting thing and moment didn't happen there. It happened later. When we arrived at the next airport, which was about an hour and a half away, everyone was waiting for their luggage to come off the bus. And I realized something. Because my bag went on first, it was probably going to come off last. And honestly, I suspected the worker might have made sure of that. But something happened that surprised me. He was struggling to unload the luggage. There were dozens of bags, and no one was helping him. Everyone was just standing there waiting for their own bag. So I stepped forward and I started helping him unload the luggage. Even though earlier he had tried to move me, even though he had tried to change the situation, I still helped. And the look on his face said everything. He didn't expect that. Because leadership isn't just about being right. Leadership is about who you choose to be after the conflict ends. That night, I learned something about followers. And I learned something about leaders. Followers look for the crowd. Leaders look for clarity. Followers stand where everyone else stands. Leaders don't wait to be told where to stand. They understand the mission and they position themselves accordingly. And sometimes those two places are about 15 feet apart. Leadership doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes leadership simply looks like the courage to stand alone for a moment. So let me encourage you. If you've ever felt like the only person standing in the right place, while everyone else gathers somewhere more comfortable, you are not crazy. You are experiencing something every leader eventually experiences. Because the crowd follows comfort, but leaders follow clarity. And clarity sometimes places you in a position that feels lonely. But that position might be exactly where you're supposed to stand. So this week, ask yourself, where in my life do I need the courage to stand 15 feet in front instead of standing where the crowd feels comfortable? Because leadership often begins exactly there. The moment you start leading yourself is the moment you become the C.You.O. And sometimes that moment is only about 15 feet. This is C.You.O. Podcast, and I'll see you next time in the boardroom. Thank you for tuning in to the C.You.O. Podcast, a safe space for you to focus on you. Don't forget to subscribe, join the email list, and follow us on social media for daily encouragement. Remember, Showing up for yourself first is the most powerful way to show up for others. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, and keep choosing you.